Welcome to the NC DWI Guy podcast, where defenders of the Constitution assemble to prepare for courtroom battle and firm owners gather to develop marketing strategies that will revolutionize the practice of criminal defense. Here's your host, the NC DWI Guy, Jake Minnick.
Hello, fellow freedom fighters, and welcome to episode 200. Episode 200 of the NC DWI Guy podcast. 200 episodes, listeners. Pretty sweet. It's been a blast doing this over the past few years. I have learned a ton in prep. I have learned a ton from the guests that I have been able to get on the show. So blessed to have so many great conversations. It has been a real joy doing this, and I can't tell you how awesome it is every time that I am in a courthouse here locally, across the state, when somebody comes up and says, "Hey, love the show, listen to it, learned a lot." It really is inspiring to hear that, and so I am super grateful to have everyone who is able to listen in regularly be a part of this really incredible learning experience that I have been on through this podcast. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening to the show and for improving the practice of criminal defense across the great state of North Carolina. Today, we have got a very important topic. I was really trying to think of where to go with the 200th episode, and my thought was to look to the future. What does your law firm look like in 10 years? Think about that for a minute. You, the listener, what does your law firm look like in 10 years? Now, I had written down some pretty detailed notes about what I wanted to talk about on the podcast today. In regards to this forward-looking, future-looking thought of a line of thought about where you're going to be in 10 years. And I think it was the right move because my daily tear-off calendar today says this: imagine yourself a year from now, you will get there. Imagine yourself a year from now, you will get there. So let's do that. Imagine yourself a decade from now. You will get there. Now, how do you get there? What's the how-to guide? What's the blueprint? You know what you want to do. You know what you want your law firm to be. So how do you get there? People want the bullet points. They want the action items, right? Well, if only it were that easy. I am reading the E-Myth for I don't know how many times because I've read it a lot, as I have shared on the podcast in the past. This book has had more influence on my life than basically any other book than the Bible. This book changed my outlook on business. It was one of those reads where I literally couldn't sleep after reading this book because it brought so many powerful ideas into my head that I couldn't turn off the brain. But I'm going to read a little section from Michael Gerber's E-Myth Revisited. This is from the intro of that book. Here's what it says. This book then is about producing results, not simply how to do it. Because both of us know that books like that don't work. People do. And what makes people work is an idea worth working for, along with a clear understanding of what needs to be done. It is only when such an idea becomes firmly integrated into the way you think and operate your business that how to do it becomes meaningful. This book is about such an idea that says your business is nothing more than a distinct reflection of who you are. If your thinking is sloppy, your business will be sloppy. If you are disorganized, your business will be disorganized. If you are greedy, your employees will be greedy, giving you less and less of themselves and always asking for more. If your information about what needs to be done in your business is limited, your business will reflect that limitation. So, if your business is to change, as it must continuously to thrive, you must change first. If you are unwilling to change, your business will never be capable of giving you what you want. Where do you want your business to be in 10 years? Well, let me put it to you another way. Where do you want to be in 10 years? I love this line from Michael Gerber's book. So if your business is to change as it must continuously to thrive, you must change first. A business is only as good as its leader. This is the law of the lid from John Maxwell's Laws of Leadership, the law of the lid. The business is only as good as the leader. The organization is only as good as the leader. If you want a great business, then you have to work at being a great human being, a great individual. So as you think about where you want your law firm to be 10 years down the road, the first thing that you have to focus on is, where do I want to be? What is going to allow me to be the leader of the organization that I have in my head 10 years down the road? As your business levels up, you've got to level up first. It starts with you. And that's why when you go to business conferences, when you go to conferences designed about becoming a better leader, a better marketer, a better brander, generally it's not the tactics that are delivered there of this is exactly how you succeed. The best trainings, the best coaches are actually just trying to get you to level up. Level up, change your mentality, change your practices, change your mindset. Because the tactics of a great organization are constantly changing. Google is constantly recalibrating its algorithm, and then we have to change along with it. The tactics are out of date almost as soon as they are shared. So it's about becoming a better leader. So visualize the law firm that you want to have in 10 years. Now, this is going to sound cliche, but if you want to have a great law firm, if you want to level up your law firm, you have to think in decade terms. This is going to sound cliche, but there are no overnight successes. That is just the truth. There are no overnight successes. Great law firms, great businesses are built over time. There's no quick fix. There's no instant success. There's no secret that is going to transform your business overnight. Great law firms are built over time. And that is why consistency wins. Consistency wins. There's something about the 200th episode that is a reminder of that. This podcast wasn't built, 200 episodes didn't occur in a day. 200 episodes took literally years to complete. Consistency wins. Anybody can go hard for a week, a season, a year. Anybody can do that. And I think a lot of people do that. A lot of people, when they start their firm, or maybe they go to some summit, or they read some book and they come back all juiced up, and it's like, bam, I'm going to turn things around. This is the year, right? January 1st is one of these moments, right? We're going to be different this year, right? And anybody can kind of live that change for a week, a season, a year, but doing it for a decade is what separates the champions. I'm going to tell you that right now. Doing it for the long term is what separates the champions. It is tough to keep pounding day in and day out. We can get all juiced up, but the tough days are what matter. Just putting in the hours, not putting up zeros on the days where we just don't feel like doing it. I know I use a lot of running analogies, but I got to use one here because it just really, to me, was one of those moments where I saw this in practice. I love running in the summertime. I love it. I love running in the glorious sunshine. Today it is beautiful outside. Even in the middle of February, it is 60 degrees in Asheville. It is sunny. It is glorious. This is a day to go running, and I definitely plan on putting my running shoes on here in about an hour. So you know what I'm doing after this podcast, but I love running when it's hot. I love running when no shirt is required, when there's sweat. You feel good after that, like you feel like you did something. I do not like running in the cold. I don't like running in the cold. I don't like running when you come back in the door. You're definitely not sweating. You can't feel your fingers. You can't feel part of your face. It's miserable to me. And that's the reason why it's so important. Because in order to get better, you can't take seasons off. The winter miles bring spring smiles, as my calendar said a couple of weeks back. And that is so true, because you can't build your body to where you need to be if you're taking a season off. You also can't appreciate, in a real sense, the glory of running on a hot summer day unless you have ran when it is freezing outside. When you come back in, your hands are frozen, your face is frozen, there's no sweat. It's miserable. That's what makes the glorious summer runs that much more glorious, is having done it in the crap weather. A couple of weeks back, I was running, and I've missed a lot of days that I should not have missed recently. So this is not really a moment to pat myself on the back. I think it's a self-realization that, again, you have to put in the work when you don't feel like doing it. That's where success lies. And I've missed a lot of days that I should not have missed because I just didn't want to be out in the cold. But one of the exceptions to that recently, I was out a few weeks back. It was pouring down the rain. I had not run in a couple days, and I was like, I just got to make this happen. So I went out, within, the first half a mile, I'm soaked. It's wet. Rain is coming down. But once you get moving, then generally it's a lot easier to keep going. So I'm running. The rain starts really coming down. And at one point, I run along a bunch of country roads near my house. At one point, one of the tail lights or headlights comes on, pulls up beside me. Lady opens her window. It's pouring outside, and she says to me, she said, "I just want to make sure that that you don't need a lift." And I was like, "Nope, I'm all good." And she drove on, and that was awesome. Because in her brain, she was like, you'd have to literally be mental to be out here in this rain right now. Like, you'd have to be off your rocker. Maybe this person's car broke down. Maybe something bad happened and they need a lift. So it was bad enough weather condition wise to where this lady was like, surely this dude is not stupid enough to be running right now. That was a moment of real, like, okay, this is what I should be doing. About another mile down the road, I was crossing over a bridge, and I could see another car. And this is early in the morning, so there's not many cars along the country roads at this point. But I saw another car coming, and it's gonna hit the bridge in the opposite lane of travel around the same time that I am getting ready to hit the bridge. And there is a giant puddle of water sitting on the bridge. And it was one of those moments where I was like, there is no stopping this. This is about to be a tidal wave coming my direction. And uh, the tidal wave did not disappoint. I literally got a sheet of water from head to toe. It was literally like running through a wave as that car passed. For whatever reason, idiot me, I had my mouth open. I was literally like choking on water as I came out the other side of this, spit out the water that was in my mouth. Again, not just like wet, but drenched at this point with the rain, but more from this giant puddle tidal wave. And as I was on the other side of that, I thought to myself, again, this right here is what separates, true runners from, somebody that's just doing it as a hobby or as a joy. And again, I'm not saying that to pat myself on the back, because I missed a lot of days like that. I've missed a lot of days like that recently. Missed days in the cold, didn't feel like going out. Missed days in the rain, didn't feel like going out. But when you walk through that, and you know that there's people that don't care what the temperature is, don't care what the weather conditions are, don't care if they're sick, don't care what they're feeling like, don't care, if their stomach doesn't feel good, whatever it might be. These people are going to put in the miles. Those are the real runners. Those are the people that are out there that are going to have the greatest results. And that's the same thing with our lives and with our businesses. If we take days off, if we put up zeros, we are going to feel the effects of that in 10 years. You're not going to feel the effects of it all at once. You can take a day off and it won't matter. You can take 4 days off and it won't matter. But you start taking days off consistently over time, over 3 months, over 6 months, that is going to add up. You will see the result of that. Conversely, if you're putting in the work day after day after day, if you go out and you have a bad run, but you didn't put up a zero, if you go into the office and you get some work done, it doesn't feel like you got anything accomplished, but you didn't put up a zero, that consistency is going to compound. So, consistency wins. If you want to have the law firm that you are going for in 10 years, then you have to be consistent. Matthew McConaughey, in his Academy Award acceptance speech many years back now, had this vision of his hero that he communicated, which was, he was asked, "Who is your hero?" And he said he thought about it for a little bit of time. And then he told the person that had asked, "My hero is me in 10 years. 10 years down the road, the same person came back to him and said, "Hey, are you your hero now?" McConaughey responds, "No, not even close. Not even close. Now my hero is me in 10 more years." Because you're always trying to improve. You're always trying to level up, become a better version of yourself. And I love that mentality of being the person that you want to be in 10 years, being your hero. That's why it's so important to visualize yourself 10 years down the road, to visualize your law firm 10 years down the road. Brian King, who I've now mentioned a number of times on the podcast, I was listening to a conversation that he had recently with Jesse Fry, who again spoke at the summit, and who I recently also had on the podcast. But they were engaging in a recorded call on LinkedIn, and Brian shared with Jesse that his organizational chart is based on his firm 10 years down the road. He only has one organizational chart, and that is the organization of King Law 10 years in the future. And he shared that he is constantly tweaking that and revising that, but there is no organizational chart for the present King Law. You can't find it. It doesn't exist. The only organizational chart that exists for King Law is what the firm is going to look like in 10 years. And damn, if that's not powerful. What does your firm look like 10 years down the road? You got to have a map for that. You've got to have a vision for that. If you want to accomplish something with your business, if you want your business to look a certain way in the future, you better know what it's going to look like. You better have an idea mapped out for how your business is going to exist in the future. You've got to visualize that long-term goal. One thing that we have used now for the last 5 years through scaling up tools, which I've shared again on the podcast in a number of episodes, is this idea of a big, hairy, audacious goal. You need to have a big, hairy, audacious goal. And this actually may come from Good to Great. That may be where the big, hairy, audacious goal comes from. But I know that scaling up uses that same terminology. And that is basically the 10-year goal for your business. It's the real why does your business exist? What is your business? How can you measure success over a 10-year period with your business? Now, why is this important? Why is it important to have that big, hairy, audacious goal? Because if you don't have the big, hairy, audacious goal, your business has no destination. The simple fact of the matter is, and again, this is a reference from the E-Myth, most small businesses go out of business in the first year, 5 years, definitely in the first decade. The E-Myth references somewhere in the percentile of about 90% of small businesses go out of existence within the first decade of their creation. So that's not a very good statistical number. If you want to have a great business, you have to be around for the long haul. You have to realize it's not going to happen overnight, and you need to know where you are going. You have to have a destination. If you do not have a destination, then you can work as hard as you want. You can swim as fast as you want. And if you don't know the direction that you're going, you're just as lost as you were when you started. You might as well have not moved, because you could be going in the wrong direction. Now, why is this so problematic for people? What is the difficulty for all of us in this kind of like long-term process? Well, I think the problem is for us that we want to imagine that success is sexy. You know, everybody on social media, and I would say that the social media of business is LinkedIn, right? On LinkedIn, you see all of these people sharing their successes and, you know, how long they've been working away at it and the verdicts that they've won. And you know, you have some people that are sharing some more raw experiences and being a little bit more open and vulnerable about their losses. And that's awesome. I think that's a really good thing. But the overwhelming amount of stories that you see are all of these success stories. And everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, right? Everybody wants to have that as part of their mentality and their title, right? I'm the CEO of my law firm. I'm the entrepreneur in my business. They want to have this title because it brings to mind, again, in Gerber's words, something of the heroic, right? The entrepreneur, this pioneer of business, this man or woman standing on the mountain, the rugged individual, the small business person going to bat, David taking on Goliath, right? Like that's our vision of the small business owner. But in real life, success is not sexy. Success is not sexy. I would say it's never sexy in the business realm. It isn't easy. It just looks this way because someone has knocked it out of the park that has been through the process. One of the ways that we get good at things is just doing them over and over again. I was sharing yesterday during our team huddle how just getting great at being a district court lawyer just requires hours and hours of being in the district courtroom. Just requires so much time doing the same seemingly monotonous tasks, but with slight enough variation that you can pick up on subtle differences in terms of what the district attorney is going to do with the case, how the judge is going to rule on this particular issue, how to get this type of motion filed, and where to send this specific order. All of these small, tiny, seemingly meaningless little items just take a ton of practice and experience to really become a master. There's ways you can speed up the process, but a lot of it is just doing it over and over and over again. And Kristen Dewar, who is our attorney in the Concord office, she gave a great analogy. She said she likes to think of it as having done her time. She practices primarily in Cabarrus County, and she was saying, she has served her sentence, done her time in district court in Cabarrus County, such that she is now a master. And I thought that was actually a wonderful analogy, because you have to serve your sentence in order to become the head honcho in the jail, right? Or in order to become, a master of business, you have to have served your time. No matter how many CLEs that you attend, no matter how many books that you read, no matter how many trials that you watch, there is, along with that, the requirement of just doing it day in, day out for a period of years and years to become a master. And I love the CLEs. I love people getting educated on criminal defense rules, procedures, case law, statutes. That is awesome and 100% mandatory, and we can always be stepping up our game on that front. But you also have to put in the time. It's that 10,000 hour rule, right? You have to put in the time in order to become a master, to become great at something. So I think one of these lies that we breathe to ourselves is that success is sexy, and hitting district court day in, day out isn't. Working on cases day in, day out, there's a lot of times when it's not sexy work. Calling clients back, doing the little things in the firm to improve your client experience, to improve the education of your team, your firm culture, to do a little bit better in the community. to help the underserved. All of these small adjustments make a massive difference over the long haul, but they're not sexy. You can have a huge impact by this consistency. But if you looked at it on a day-to-day basis, you would never see that kind of giant jump, that kind of mega leap. There'd be very few of those in the life of your firm. It's about being consistent. So I'll leave you with this thought as we close the conversation today. Freedom in our current society is thought of as the freedom to choose between one thing and the other arbitrarily. Freedom of choice. It's all about just the ability to kind of decide any way that you want. It's the way that I would say, currently understand freedom. But that is not kind of always been the understanding of what freedom is. In ancient philosophy, freedom would be more accurately described as this: the disciplining of desire so as to make the achievement of the good first possible and then effortless. Freedom is the disciplining of desire so as to make the achievement of the good first possible and then effortless. Now, I would tweak that slightly in terms of, if you want to have a freedom in your firm, if you want to have a business that provides you freedom, and I think that, in all honesty, that's why most of us choose to start a law practice, is for greater freedom. So we can design our own schedule, so that we can create the type of firm that we want to create, so that we can have the hours we want. Freedom is very much at the base of this. So if you want to have a law practice that provides you maximal freedom, then think about this in terms of your firm in 10 years. Freedom is the disciplining of desire so as to make the achievement of the goal first possible and then effortless. And that disciplining of desire is that consistency, day in, day out, small steps towards that big, hairy, audacious goal, your firm in 10 years. If you want to have freedom in your firm, you need to know what that freedom looks like. And you've got to then be committed to taking those baby steps. Nothing sexy, nothing easy. Those baby steps, day in, day out, towards that 10-year grand goal that you have. That 10-year ever adjusting goal that you have. Because you're never getting any closer to your firm in 10 years, which is really quite wonderful, because I think a lot of us actually move at a faster rate than we expect towards that 10-year goal. But you're always going to be, every single day, you're 10 years away from your future firm. But you have to know what that future firm looks like. And if you want to be free in that future firm, you have to be able to discipline your desire. You have to be able to do the work day in and day out so as to make the achievement of that goal, whatever your firm looks like in 10 years, first possible and then effortless. Because as you take those daily steps towards that 10-year goal, they will become easier. To close with another running analogy, anytime that I go for a run, morning run in particular, but anytime that I go for a run, the first steps of the run are the hardest steps. It is getting the body moving, mentally telling yourself, we're going to do this thing right now. It's those first few steps that are the hardest steps. Once you get into a rhythm and you start moving, the body becomes basically a machine, a robot. The brain can turn off. It's those first few steps that make the achievement of the goal possible, the achievement of finishing that run possible and then those middle steps that make the achievement of that goal effortless. Once you get into the rhythm, that 10-year firm that you have created in your mind as what your firm of the future looks like will become effortless. I look forward to these coming episodes. I look forward to doing many more podcasts as I continue to learn through these podcasts, as I continue to have incredible guests on that I can learn from, as I continue to engage with listeners about cases and issues that they have. I mean, there's just, again, been so many benefits that have come out of this. One of the highlights of our kind of podcast coming up is that we're going to be doing a series of episodes with kind of the next generation of legal leaders in the criminal defense realm, the warriors that I would like to call them in the criminal defense realm. So I'm excited to do a series of episodes that are going to be kind of really focused on these leaders and the future of being a criminal defense practitioner. But go out and make that 10-year version of your law firm happen. More importantly, go out and make that 10-year version of yourself happen. Look forward to speaking with you for the next 100 episodes.